All right, guys, welcome into the show. David Nuño here live in Power Field, Mile High, as the Aggies do end up winning 10-7 over Colorado. A game that, let me go ahead and tell you, did not have fun for most of the game until the very end, obviously. And we're going to try to get to a lot of your messages out there. But we want to thank Higginbotham Insurance for bringing us this show over there at Higginbotham Insurance. Insurance is their something, but customers are their everything. That's why they work hard to understand your priorities so we can get you covered on day one and provide you year-round value with day two services, whether it's helping you prevent and minimize loss or offering you deep expertise so you can maximize your time and minimize hassle. Our day two services encompass everything you need to turn your risk into reward and challenges into opportunities. All right, so I'm here on the field. Apologize for the awkward view, but we just finished with Jimbo moments ago, and all right, so the first half obviously was a disaster. The Hayes King news really was just not a good time for anybody. He goes down there on that second drive. Didn't look good initially, but I really felt that he was going to be able to pick it up. Then Zach Calzada having his struggles the entire game until it really mattered. And then, at one point when he does score on what we thought was perhaps the game-winning touchdown, he fumbles the ball. We just can't have nice things here, which is when we at that point, what are you thinking? So I just came from the press room moments ago, and one of the beauties of the conversation is nobody lost hope at all. Not one person lost hope in the Aggies. And I talked to Isaiah Spiller about it, Jimbo Fisher. None of them lost hope to Marvin Leal. They all felt that something special was brewing. And really, the defense is what really got going. What was it, 34 yards that they gave up there in the second half? I think like 5 yards in the fourth quarter. The defense brought it. Without that defense, there is no way the Aggies win that game. 10 points didn't seem like it was going to be enough. But then when they started going there in that fourth quarter drive and you felt that maybe this could be the chance, Isaiah Spiller out there making the game-winning touchdown on a play where Zach just kind of rolled out, made the throw. Spiller had the DB beat, and it's game time. The defense was not going to give up any yardage. And you saw on that final possession, tip after tip after tip. So lots to break down in this game, and we'll do that. We're going to bring in Chris Taylor, the former Aggie great, into the program. And CT, man, I don't even know where to begin with this game with you. I saw your analysis out there. The offensive line was not giving them a lot of push, but they were able to get it done. Talk a little bit about what you saw towards the end of the game that changed early on.
Man, it was, I got to take my hat off to Colorado. I mean, they played with a lot of emotion, man. They brought it, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so, the thing that I think I saw that really jumped to me was you saw Calzada grow up, over 4 quarters. Normally we see that over the course of a season, but to see a young man go from where he was to start the game to, going to that third quarter, going into the fourth quarter and have to make plays. And, he makes the play, he has the turnover, but then comes right back and leads them on that touchdown drive to win the game, man. You saw a guy grow up, right before our eyes, and hopefully he can carry that momentum in the next week and further weeks if we need him to play.
Yeah, one of the things I was worrying about, Chris, is I felt like all his throws were off early on, and really throughout most of that game, he seemed to either overthrow, underthrow, get balls tipped, but then he settled down. How big was that?
Well, and I mean, a lot of it could have just been nerves, coming in, you're hyped up, as a backup, they say you're one play away from playing, and not knowing when that time is going to come, and then Haynes goes down, and now he's thrust right into it, and so I think early in the game he was jacked up. I thought he was kind of eyeballing and staring down receivers, but towards the end of the game, Jimbo started getting him out. Zach started breaking contain a little bit and getting out and making some plays with his legs, and so it just translated into, I think it built his confidence, and he hit some throws down the stretch. Spiller on that wheel route, and he runs to stop and he makes a great throw, and so just started making plays, and you could see that confidence building, and then ultimately he throws a dot on that last drive. Drops it right in the breadbasket of Isaiah, and the rest is history. So big win for the Aggies. It wasn't pretty, but they're 2-0.
So are you encouraged or discouraged here because of what we saw? Meaning the expectation, at least for my part, was they were going to come in here, run the ball on Colorado, get an early lead. They weren't able to establish the run. They weren't really able to establish anything offensively early on. It wasn't until the end of it.
I think for me, I was encouraged, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, that's the defense that we're used to seeing, when you talk about the wrecking crew and those great defenses back in the 90s. And so very encouraged, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I thought Antonio Johnson played an amazing game. I thought, Peavy played lights out. DeMarvin Leal does what he always does. But then Jalen Jones, I mean, I thought he played a heck of a ball game. And so defensively, I'm not concerned. Offensively, we saw some things start to happen, as the game progressed. And I think it was an ugly stat right before half. We had 22 yards of total offense, but then ended up outgaining Colorado over the course of the game. So that means we put some plays together. We strung together some drives. We just couldn't end those plays, those drives in the end zone. But you saw when it was time to do it, we got the job done. 10-7, man. I probably had 3 or 4 heart attacks during that game.
Man, I'm with you there. So help me understand this. What was up with the play calling? Jimbo said they just weren't able to establish the run, but I thought passing so much with Calzada was a very dangerous approach. It ended up working at the end, but he threw a way more, and I didn't see them really go to A-Chain very much. They didn't go to Spiller as much. It just kind of surprised me.
It was very surprising. I saw a stat in the fourth quarter. He had thrown it 35 times. And, to throw it that much when you have, a workhorse in the backfield like Isaiah, you have a guy that can take it the distance, in our chain, and then, Anias being kind of that change of pace, kind of do everything. It was real surprising that we didn't try to establish it more. But, like I said, hats off to Colorado. Their defensive line, they played a heck of a ball game, and they were able to control the line of scrimmage, and it kind of deterred us. And then we couldn't sustain drives. And so, now we're looking for, alternative ways to try to move the football and do different things. But, one thing that Jimbo did, and it was a great adjustment, he started throwing the ball out in the flats. That's just like a glorified sweep, and started getting our guys out in space and letting Isaiah and letting Chain and let those guys go to work out in space when it's one-on-one. And so I thought that was a great adjustment. But, man, Colorado played a heck of a game up front.
All right, last thing for you, CT. Can this team still win a national championship if it is Zach Calzada the rest of the way? And with a caveat, they have to obviously establish the run moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I think they can. Obviously it was going to be tough with Haynes. It's going to be just as tough with Calzada. The thing is, he's going to get more reps in practice. He's going to settle in there with those ones. And I think that he gets his footing, and I think he gets a hold of this offense moving forward, especially starting next week and then possibly that Arkansas game. So I think he'll be fine. Defense keeps playing and doing what they're doing. A&M's going to have a great chance to do it.
Chris, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Absolutely, man.
Take care. Let's do this. Let's go to Richard Zane before we go to Brandon Leone here. He's in the studio to give us an update of all the things going on around college football. And just, Richard, I'll let you start off just quickly, man. Were you biting your nails, kind of like people we know around the area, just biting nails during the game?
So I actually bite my nails regardless. It's a bad habit of mine. So, but I didn't. My hands were glued to a keyboard the entire time. So. No, but they pulled it out. That's definitely an excruciating victory down the wire.
All right, man, give us an update. What's going on in college football?
So you saw the biggest news of the day, I'm sure, was Ohio State went down, losing to Oregon, and a tight one as well. Buckeyes tried to come back. Another tight game was in South Bend. Notre Dame needed 18 fourth-quarter points to up in Toledo. Around the Southeastern Conference, Alabama's taking care of business. Georgia took care of UAB easily. Florida, USF easily. Auburn 62-0 shutout of Alabama State. And right now, I think a lot of Aggies are paying attention to the game going on in Fayetteville. The Razorbacks are up 10-0 on Texas with 10 minutes to play in the second quarter.
All right, that makes me smile. Thank you very much, Richard Zane. I don't know why I gave you your first and last name. Thank you, Richard. Let's go now to Brandon Leone, who is in Denver, who enjoyed the game. And B, I'll tell you, man, that was a game that I was upset for 98% of it, but somehow, some way, they found a way to win it. I'm not sure if Brandon's mic is working. We'll see if we can test it again. Brandon, can you hear me? Yeah, his mic is not on. It looks like we'll try to get back to Brandon Leone here in a moment as we try to reconnect with Brandon Leone. All right, so I'll give you a couple stats as we try to reestablish what is going on with Brandon. All right, Zach Calzada, 18 of 38, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. There were several times that I felt an interception might happen. Obviously, it did not happen, so that worked out in the Aggies' favor. Also out there, Lewis, who was excellent for Colorado in the first quarter and the first half. Did not end up doing anything in the second half. I think he threw for 64 in the first half, finished with 89 yards passing. He rushed for 76 yards. He had 64 at the half. That just tells you how that Aggie defense was able to turn it on against that Colorado offensive attack. So every time the Aggies defense was put in a bad spot, every single time. I think I hear Brandon Leone. I heard something there. Every time they were put in a bad spot, defense came and they made a play. And it looks like we are reconnecting with the great Brandon Leone. All right, we're having some awkward moments. We'll try to get him in a moment. So every time that the Aggies defense was put in a bad spot, they were able to find a way to stop them. How many times here? Third down, fourth down. They stood up and they made the big play. And I do want to single out a couple of players. We did get to talk to Marvin Leal. We did talk to Jaden Peavy, who had obviously the big pick early on. If you watch Marv play during that game in the double teams and the triple teams and the way he was throwing guys left and right, it was just very nice to see. Not only that, because that defense, they never lost hope. They almost were, I would say that they, what's the word I want to use here that I probably can't say on camera? They were upset. They didn't like the way the first quarter went, and you saw them visibly upset. And then I asked two different questions. I asked Jimbo, and I did ask Peavy what was different. And they changed up some wrinkles defensively there in the second half to get it going. There's Brandon Leone. Brandon, we're talking about that defense and how great they were able to come. After that first quarter, they really figured things out.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that was the most important thing, I think, is the defense adjusted. It was a little bit stressful in the beginning of the game, and I figured that was going to be the case with a dual-threat quarterback that can move and stretch the offense out. And so once we adjusted, by the end of the first quarter, I think everybody that's seen this defense play and seen Elko's adjustments knew we just got to go score the dang football. Like, we got to get into the end zone. We got to get points on the board. And it didn't work out that way until the very end, which is amazing. But I think the ultimate thing is you had a massive change in the game. Your starting quarterback gets hurt. And when you're on the road and you're already playing like crap, I mean, that's a tough place for Colorado to be in, right? I mean, and that's why as a number 2 guy, number 3 guy, you always take every single rep at practice your best, because that's how fast it can change. That's how fast it can happen. And so the defense settled in. Antonio Johnson is an absolute dog, probably the MVP of the game for me. The guy can cover. He tackles well in space. He made big play after big play, batting down passes. The defense travels well. I think Billy and Steve maybe or Seth McKee were talking about this, and they hit it on the head. Defense and your run game travels well. Now, I feel like we could have leaned on the run a little bit more. But listen, dude, at the end of the day, we're 2-0. And we were this far away from all that momentum being flushed down the dang toilet quick.
Brandon, are you surprised that Zach threw it 38 times? And I'm looking at the rushing attack. HA 9 attempts for 50 yards. He could have gotten more. You have Spiller 8 attempts only. Today, Jimbo did say that they took away the run, but I still feel like they didn't lean on it as much as they could have for a quarterback that was struggling.
No, I mean, I agree. And look, I was hoping that we were – I liked when we were in 21 personnel with Achane and Spiller in there and Watermeyer in the game, right, with Calzada in the shotgun. I think that was our best thing, getting running backs in the flats, stretching the field, doing some play action stuff. And that's, I think, what started moving the ball for us later in the game was feeding 6 and 28. And I think Billy and I were talking about this maybe Saturday or Friday morning. You know, he was saying, like, this defense gets upfield. They just create pressure. Like, they just get upfield and they stress you out and they take you out of your game plan. So you have that happening, plus you have your starting quarterback go down. And so you know their heads were just spinning. But at the end of the day, right, years ago, we lose this football game. I mean, do you not agree with me? Years ago, there's no way we bounce back from this adversity and come back and win this game. And it was a hostile environment. And I promise you, that was the worst student section I have ever. There was 12 of us, bro, and we sat right next to their student section, and it was brutal. So to get that W, it felt extra good at the end of the game for sure.
Hey, so do you still feel, Brandon, that this team can win a national championship if Haynes is lost for the year and Zach Calzada is your quarterback, knowing that he persevered during this game and the fact that he can come back and win at the end? Can this team still win a national championship?
My response is probably based on emotion more than anything. But the reality is, if we continue to play like that, it's just not going to happen. And I know that's disappointing to hear. And I sure hope the team and the guys know how much I support them and believe in them. But here's the thing. You leave this game with Calzada. King, I don't know the update of how bad the injury is. I know it sounds like it's going to be extensive. You're essentially hitting reset when you go home after this game, right? You know, as Coach Fisher, Mickey, the offensive staff, like they got to change the game plan. The O-line's got to get it together and clean it up. We've got to be able to lean on the run game. This defense obviously showed once they make adjustments, they're good. I would be absolutely shocked unless we just continue to improve every single week. David, I just don't know if I see it because that was a very, very stressful game, and I don't think it should have been that stressful, even with King going out. And then maybe I'm being critical. I hope people can relate to that. I thought, man, we should be handling this team more than we are. But, again, I don't care. I know everybody in that locker room, all they see is 2-0. That's all they see. And next week, we're 0-0.
Hey, so how about this? Is the Pac-12 maybe better than we thought? We saw what Oregon did at Ohio State. We saw UCLA take it to LSU, and we saw Colorado really stifle our running game.
Yes, they did, and that was surprising. But again, I think that shows you the lack of experience. You know, I know we're talented up on the line of scrimmage, but I mean, we're gonna have to prepare. And Leighton Robinson, man, that guy's tough as nails. Like the dude was limping from what, I don't know if that was mid-second quarter on. I mean, he was limping, and he stepped out. And so the thing about a game like this, David, to me, is this team needs to get tough quick. They need to get tough quick, and they got tough in the second half. Like they grinded it out, man. The defense got physical as hell. The offense kind of just started slowly, methodically working down the field. It wasn't pretty. And then the times when we needed to make big plays, man, we really did. Calzada made some really big throws when it counted. He missed a lot today. And at times it was like, where the heck is this kid looking? But, man, that's a tough spot to come in. The starter goes down. You're on the road, neutral venue, loud as hell. Emotions are high. We weren't playing well. So you know you want to be a spark plug for the team, and you come in and you probably press a little bit. Jimbo's probably calling the game a little bit different than he would have because Calzada's in, and it's just – and then when we settled in a little bit, it seemed like we started to find some rhythm. But like you said, that Pac-12 defense, man, Colorado had a good defense. They were physical. They got upfield. Our receivers were not open very often, and then when they were, it seemed like we missed them. So I don't know. Again, frustrating day, but you can't be too frustrated when you leave 2-0 with a Power 5 win in a hostile environment. I promise you it was hostile. It really was.
Last thing for you, you mentioned it being hostile, but the 12th man certainly showed up, especially it got so loud here. I saw a lot of maroon. What did it feel like in the stands?
It was unbelievable. And again, we were in the CU section, but look, we're here right now on another bar. Look at all that fun. Aggies. We got tons of Aggies in this restaurant right now. There was tons of Aggies in the stadium. There was tons of Aggies walking out, and it was unbelievable to see the power of the 12th man, even on the road. And that last drive when they had to get it, it was a lot of fun to see. It was good.
Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll catch up now with Spencer Nealy, who's at a party. What's up, Spencer?
No. I used to play football. And
this is awkward.
Talking on.
We'll try it again. Spencer Nealy. Well, we lost him. We'll try
what is
get
up,
Spencer Nealy
man?
back on here on the show.
Hey,
the post-game wrap.
My appearance and my temperament, but this was not a cool game.
Well,
not happy about it.
You texted me right after, man, and WTF was the letters that I got from it. So just tell me your emotions, beginning, middle to end.
I mean, everyone was upset about, Haynes King getting hurt and all, but, I mean, our defense, that offense was the worst offense I've ever seen. We should have at least had a turnover. I mean, like, we can't put everything on the fact that Haynes King got hurt. And I mean, it's really hard to understand how we won 10-7. That was a very, very bad Colorado team. Their offense was one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. We clearly our defense is stout. We shut down their passing game. They don't have a passing game. That was clear early on. And I don't know. I mean, we won. We won, and a win is a win. And that's all that matters. And Calzada, I'm worried. I'm worried that there's a lack of control. Number 2 got mad at him, and he kept throwing the ball to number 2. And I don't know. We're gonna see. I pray Haynes King's okay because I'm worried about Calzada. I don't think he clearly didn't have control of the offense, and I thought we were a ground and pound team. So we'll see. I don't know.
Hey,
But
Spencer,
Colorado,
let's give Calzada this. The fact that after all the adversity he faced all game long, he made the play that needed a beautiful pass to Spiller to win the
yeah,
game.
you're right.
After all the adversity he went through.
Hey, I've been a Calzada fan. I thought he was great in high school. I really liked him last year. I mean, I will be the first. I will be the first person to back him up. I don't think that he was ready for this opportunity. He really did not look like. If you look at a lot of the bad passes he made, he threw it to the same person every time. I I don't think that reflected how good of a quarterback he is, and I don't think anybody should use that against him. He did make the play that needed to happen, especially after that fumble in the end zone. That was tough. Dude, I'm watching it around a bunch of Longhorns who were waiting for the Arkansas game. And so it was really, it was impressive that he was able to bounce back from that. And I respect him for that. I mean, dude,
Hey,
if he knew, Calzada is a champion, man. That was tough. That was a tough game. But for him to come back and throw that dime, I respect the shit out of him.
hey, Spencer, we got one more question for you before we got to let you go. Defensively, how impressed were you the way they turned it on in that second half?
I loved it, man. I mean, our defense is good. There's no question about it. I mean, I think I think we need to be a little more aggressive. I guess I really don't know. I mean, it's hard to. We won, 10-7. 7 points is a really good game, but I mean that offense was bad. That was a bad Colorado offense. Help your offense out. Get some defensive turnovers, but it's rich because I was on the other end, and it's harder to say, but we've got a damn good team, and I think we're gonna be all right. We just got to stick to our running gun, dude. Like, why aren't we running the ball? Why didn't we run it at all? But our defense looked good. We're stout.
Spencer, man, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the party, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man. I hope I wasn't staring too much at the camera.
You were great. Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate that. All right, so let's go back to Richard Zane for another update on the Texas game and also around college football and some parting thoughts before we end the show here.
Yeah, David. Sorry, excuse me. Arkansas is up 13-0 now. They kicked a field goal after a really bad punt by the Longhorns. Gave them extremely good field position. Couldn't convert it into 7, but they're up 2 touchdowns now. Also, I don't know if you saw the Cy-Hawk Trophy is going to stay with Iowa. They took down Iowa State 27-17. That was a top 10 matchup in Ames today, so that was a big game. Game day was there and all that stuff. So big rivalry, and of course, Iowa continues their dominance over Iowa State.
All right, Richard, thank you so much. So I'll close it with these thoughts, guys. A win is a freaking win. And I don't care if it's on the road against the Pac-12, against a Colorado team that I expected to dominate. I was I'm a little pessimistic. Let me see how I want to phrase this. I did not love what I saw from the offensive line when it comes to running. But how much of that was on the play calling? How much of that was on the running backs? How much of that was on the offensive line? I feel like Zach, for the most part, was clean, though. Offensive line covered him for the most part. A couple of times he had happy feet. A couple of times decided to run the ball. So there were some definite being comfortable issues with Zach Calzada, and that's to be expected. I was a little concerned with him having the yips or him just being too scared in the moment. But Jimbo told him at the half, slow it down. Go through your progressions. And as the game went on, even when the fumble and a couple of the other drives, you felt like it was starting to click. He's going to have, in my opinion, a week of practice to make himself feel better and be more acclimated and go into the game as potentially the starter. And he's going to feel different going into this next one. Have the game against New Mexico, feel much better about it before you have it get real with SEC play. So I'm going to say that, yeah, I'm a little encouraged and also worried about what it means moving forward. But all championship teams have those games where you struggle and they find a way to make the plays at the end. That was a championship throw in the end zone to win the game. A championship throw after what could have been the worst moment of his career. We were all going to remember him fumbling the ball on the goal line, and that's how A&M was going to lose. But no, it didn't happen that way. He was able to make the plays, make the throws, and Isaiah and him were on the same wavelength on that wheel route, and they were able to score, and you win 10-7. You survive, advance to the next week. You know, is Notre Dame going to go down in polls? If A&M going to, it doesn't matter. They won. They're 2-0 back at Kyle Field, and even though they were in enemy territory here at Mile High in Power Field, the 12th man helped them, and Zach Calzada got stronger as the game went on. And that's all you can ask of your backup quarterback. If you look at the way he played the second half as opposed to that first half, completely different quarterback. Wasn't phenomenal by any stretch, but made a phenomenal play at the very end. And if he doesn't try to extend that play, they get the ball on the half-yard line, the 1-yard line, and maybe they win even earlier than that. But it doesn't matter. It happened the way it happened. A&M wins at 10-7. Some final thoughts for you or stats for you. Calzada, 18 of 38, 183 yards, a touchdown. A-Chain, 9 carries, 50 yards, his long 15. I want him to get the ball more. You also had Calzada with 28 yards rushing, Isaiah Spiller with only 20 yards rushing, but obviously he had the big touchdown of 56 yards, a 6-yard, 56 yards on the day. So, all right, that does it for this ramble at the end of the post-game wrap brought to you by Higginbotham Insurance. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of our guests. Chris Taylor, who joined us, Spencer Nealy, and Brandon Leone at an Aggie bar here in Denver. That was great. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you guys on TexAgs Radio and also tomorrow on the Luchador podcast. You'll be able to catch that on TexAgs.com at roughly 5 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching.